Prove Your Point podcast. What is it about? What point do you have to prove? With today's toxic dating environment, something needs to be done. You have feminists on one side, you have the red pill movement on the other side, and it's a constant push and pull. It's the classic elementary school argument where girls are from Venus, boys are from Mars. It's toxic, nonsense, childish behavior that's going on. So what do we do about it? Because again, when one side is constantly blaming the other side, and the other side is also blaming the other side, we don't come to a resolution. There is no solution. So what do we do about it? Well, that's where Prove Your Point podcasts come into play. When you bring women and you bring men, and we sit down together and we talk about our experiences in dating, we talk about the things that upset us, the things that hurt us, then we can get an understanding as to how the opposite sex feels. Because when you have these red pill, spaces, and it's a bunch of guys sitting there talking about modern women this, modern women that, and passport bros and OF this and the whole 9 yards, well, how do you talk about someone when they're not there to defend themselves? And the same goes for these anti-male sentiments where you have women talking about, I don't need a man, strong and independent. There's no use for men in society. At the end of the day, men and women both need each other. There's use for both men and women. What a man can't do, a woman could, and what a woman can't do, a man can. And I think that's by design. That's nature. It's the yin and the yang. You complement each other. Men need women, women need men. So please, I call upon anyone that sees this, whether you see it on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. Let's have these conversations together. Let's sit down and let's discuss. Let's talk. How do we move forward as a society? Because society right now is going backwards. Society is literally crumbling before us. And anything toxic, well, you ever see like a bag that says toxic waste? Do you ever touch it? Would you ever eat anything that's in a hazard bag? Well, society is in a hazard bag right now because it's extremely toxic. So what do we do about it? Do we continue to bicker? Do we continue to argue? No. We sit down like adults and like human beings and understand that life is hard for both men and women. We don't need to compete saying life is harder for men, life is harder for women. This thing called life, yeah, it's hard for everybody. Anyone who walks this earth's surface has a tough time. But that's the point of environment. That's the point of community. That's the point of coming together. That's the point of making friends and building connections. It's to make this journey called life, to make it easier, to make it more exciting. But if we're sitting there constantly arguing and bickering, where's the fun in that? That's why I came up with the Prove Your Point podcast. Prove your point. So I don't say it as a, bickering back and forth type of sentiment. I say it as in, men, we have our difficulties, but let's prove our point. Let's explain why we feel this way. Women also have their difficulties, so they need to also explain why they feel this way and prove it. And why do I say prove it? Because anyone can say anything. Someone could say, we don't need men. Men are not needed in society. Well, prove it. Prove your point. Because every building structure that you see it was most likely a man that built it. The railroad system, the power grid, it was most likely a group of men that built it. So to any anti-male feminist that says we don't need men, prove your point. Because clearly we do need men. But you see, the same goes for men. We can't say we don't need women. Because guess what? Every last one of us were born from a woman. We all came out of a woman. So with that being said, again, how do we not need women? We do need women. They're the bearers of life. They're what continues society moving forward. If it's not for women, then society, civilization would go extinct, wouldn't it? So again, for the red pillars out there that say they don't need women, prove your point. Prove that we don't need women. I say otherwise. Men and women also need each other. So with that being said, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Manuel Santana. I'm a relationship coach based out of Boston, Massachusetts. And I started this podcast to broadcast my voice and how I feel about the subject and how I feel about what's going on in today's society. So please, join this movement. Yes, it's a movement. There's the pro-male and there's the pro-female movement. Well, this is the pro-people movement, bringing women and men together. So join me on this movement, on this journey. All I ask is that you follow me on social media. Follow me on Instagram, Prove Your Point Pod. Follow me on TikTok, Prove Your Point Podcast. Click like on my Facebook, Prove Your Point Podcast. And also, I'm also on Fanbase, Prove Your Point Podcast. And most importantly, I'm on YouTube at the Prove Your Point Podcast. So please follow, share, like, subscribe, support, because I will be putting out a lot of videos, a lot of podcasts, and I will be posting them on social media. And all I ask is that you support and help this podcast grow. Help me grow as a person, because this is also for me. I'm not better than anyone else. We're all in this together. So, again, clicking like, sharing, watching, subscribing. It's not a lot of work. It's not heavy duty work. I'm not asking for a blood transfusion. All I'm asking is from support. It's for support from the public. So, will you answer the call? Will you prove your point? Or will you continue to let society crumble before us? The choice is yours. I already made my choice. So let's do this together. Prove Your Point Podcast. Coming soon. Thank you.